What is going on? Movie meals. The Batman came out. We saw it yesterday. Kyle and I met in the middle of the city to watch it on the IMAX, and got to see things on IMAXs. It's worth it.
More often.
But we're here to review it. So there'll be 2 reviews up on the channel. This one we're filming right now is our non-spoiler review. It'll be a lot shorter and quick. With just our quick positives and negatives of the movie, and then you can go watch the spoiler review if you've seen it and you want to get fully caught up on that. But before we get too far into it, thank you to Movie Meal patrons Kimberly and Karen. Go get some merch. It's all linked down in the description. Trust me, guys, it's awesome stuff. But let's get into it here. Kyle, what did you think of the Batman? What were your positives?
My positive is that this movie was exactly what I hoped it would be, and it still exceeded my expectations. I had such a great time with this because it delivered on the promises that we were being told since the beginning of this movie being thought about. It was going to be more of a crime noir detective story with Batman at the beginning of his years, a very vengeful, very disdained Batman, and it just delivered and then some. I mean, Matt Reeves was able to make this version of Gotham feel the most of a character that I've seen from any of the Batman movies, and maybe even the Joker movie as well. I feel like he was able to get, the gritty, grim, slimy version of Gotham that I've always perceived it as, combined with like a gothic aesthetic to it, and it just matched up perfectly with this version of Batman that he delivered, which is a detective that's on the hunt for villains, and he just won't stop at nothing until he gets the job done. But we also were able to see a very calculative Batman, like a very smart Batman who plays up on the detective angles really well. And that really was done brilliantly by Robert Pattinson, who this was no surprise to us, to you and I, Alex, that he was going to be a great Batman, but he still exceeded my expectations. I mean, this movie really was giving credit to the audience for being able to follow it so well, because you could tell the type of character, the type of person that Bruce Wayne is becoming within Batman just by facial expressions, just by through what his eyes look like, through the mask that he was wearing. And it just was so well done of a performance by him that, I just love this version so much. And I'm already stoked to see Pattinson continue this role, because he just immediately captured my attention throughout his brilliant performance. But that's the same with the rest of the actors as well. I mean, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Paul Dano as the Riddler, as like this serial killer Riddler who's on a vengeance path of his own, who's trying to take out all these crime bosses or these government officials throughout Gotham. But he does it in such a calculative way, to where it's both terrifying, but also has like its moments of comedy, and it's funny at the same time. But it doesn't take away from the grim aesthetic of this movie that the director Matt Reeves was able to portray. And other actors like Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell as Penguin, they were just as good, if not better. And we can talk more about how well they played into the movie in our spoiler review. But it just felt like from the get-go, Matt Reeves was able to have an understanding of what his version of Batman is always like. And he was able to portray that so well, to where I think audience are, regardless of what they think, I don't think they're going to take away as like hating this movie. It's not going to be like this big divide that we've seen from like a Batman v Superman, for example. I think at the most part, not everyone's going to love it, but at least I think the majority of the people are really going to like this portrayal, because Matt Reeves had a vision. He executed the vision brilliantly, in my opinion. And he was able to have everyone else on board. Oh, and the score is fantastic as well. I have to mention that. But Alex, let me hear what you have to say.
I have seen it twice now. I absolutely love this movie. From everything. I mean, it's crazy that Robert Pattinson is just stuck as Edward Cullen from Twilight. That came out over 15 years ago. We've moved on. He took a big money job to allow him to get roles that have shaped him as just an absolutely incredible actor. Every performance in this movie is fantastic. Zoe Kravitz, Robert Pattinson, Jeffrey Wright is awesome. Colin Farrell's awesome. Everybody's awesome. The direction is great. If you, Matt Reeves is a masterful director. He is one of the best. He did the last 2 movies of the new Planet of the Apes movies, and they are just fantastic. They're darker and gritty. This movie is exactly that. It is dark. And I loved everything about it. The score was incredible. The soundtrack was incredible. The action sequences were fantastic. I am a sucker for a good detective, cat and mouse game. And this one's a little less of a cat and mouse game. And it's more of just, we are being one upped and we have no choice but to play into the Riddler's hands. So what's going to happen? And I loved it. I loved Paul Dano is a masterful actor. There's a handful of people who know him from There Will Be Blood. He's incredible in Prisoners, which not as many people have seen. Hard watch, but great movie.
Little Miss Sunshine, I really like him in.
Man, that's a long time ago.
It is, but
Prisoners is a long time ago. But he was a perfect choice. I loved his voice in the movie for some reason. The way he had his voice, I just loved. I want to talk a lot about like this competition that has been started now between The Dark Knight and this, but I want to do that in our spoiler review. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check that review out once you've seen the movie. But I loved everything about it. It's hard not. We got to get into the specifics here. So Kyle, did you have any negatives, non-spoiler negatives?
For me, just as a Batman fan, as someone who has been waiting for this movie, I really can't say I have negatives. I'm sure like the one big criticism that I will hear from people is that the runtime of 3 hours is probably a bit too much on the long side. For me as a fan, as someone who's been dying to see this movie, like I was able to sit through it just fine, but I can understand if someone's walking into this and they can feel the runtime. I agree with you. It works for me, but I can understand. And I feel like that is kind of it's a fair criticism, but it's not one that I would necessarily agree with personally. But that's all I can think of for a non-spoiler review anyway. What about you, Alex?
I've heard a few complaints. I disagree with all of them. To me, this is a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 movie. After seeing it twice, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. That's how much I love it. I don't have a nitpick at all. I really don't.
Yeah.
Maybe that changes one day, but right now I'm sitting here thinking that this is an S tier top movie. I absolutely adored it. If you want to know more, check out the spoiler review, which we're going to do right now. So thank you for watching the non-spoiler review. Thank you, Movie Meal patrons. Go get some merch. I'll link down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.